to 1 Minute Recess, where we dive into the news, politics, and off the record moments shaping Nevada and beyond. My name's Annette.
And I'm Maite, or Maria Teresa, and together, we're actually together today, we explore what happens during those 1 minute recesses in this actual building, and they're not always 1 minute, like this podcast, and everything else beyond Nevada as well, and we ask, what the fuck is going on out there? So, you want to get into it, Annette?
Yep, let's go. So we are in Carson City today. We are actually at the Nevada Legislative building. Here we are. This is my third floor office. This is where I hang out the most. For those of you who have been to the NV Ledge with me before, this is where I live every single day. So happy to have you back on the third floor in my office. Let's talk about deadline week. It's big deadline week. It's committee passage week this week. So lots going on in the building, lots of activity and energy and trying to get my bills to move. I was just showing you one of my amendments for one of my bills. So let's go through that.
Yeah.
All right. First, Grassroots Lobby Days was this week. You're on the Nevada Women's Lobby. We talked a lot about that last week. How was Grassroots Lobby Days? What was the energy like? And how did all the participants do?
It was great. We had a great first and second day. Grassroots Hobby Days is always 2 days, 1 day for training and 1 day for actually going out and doing what you were trained the day before in the legislature, in this building, people walking around and actually getting to put in practice what they learned. And we, I think, had a great group of people that were able to ask some really tough questions of a lot of our speakers and really get ready and prepared with the answers from those questions and their concerns and ideas, and come back the next day and actually have really important conversations with the legislators, with their legislators that they were meeting, and really to overall be engaged during session, which is the ultimate goal of Grassroots Lobby Days. My favorite part was as per usual, it's probably every Grassroots Lobby Days. I love former Assembly Majority Floor Leader Teresa Benitez Thompson, a namesake. Hello, Teresa. She recounted her story about not only being a mom before it was like super cool and usual and common to be a mom during session. And she talked about how she was a participant in one of the very first Grassroots Lobby Days in 1996. And I think that encouraged a lot of participants that were first timers to not be intimidated by this whole process, which can be very intimidating for everyone, but especially regular everyday people that, only get to come up here every so often.
And you're going to see me waving to people. It's because we're sitting right next to a walkway. So if you see me randomly wave to people, apologies.
She's not crazy.
The weird.
I mean, she is, but it's not.
But yeah, no, I am crazy, but not like that. So today in the building, folks were walking around. They were attending committee hearings. They were attending meetings with legislators. What was the vibe in the building today, and kind of talk about, some of the stuff that the Women's Lobby is following this session?
Yeah, so some of the stuff that we are working on this session is making sure that we have some version of paid leave for families, because that is something, and general childcare, that was also big subject during the training as well. Those are two big issues that we're really concerned about, because Nevada is extremely behind in that on everything. Also education and the budget. The budget is something, I know that would be like, why are they concerned about the budget? But it would affect Medicaid, which a lot of women and families and women who are, or households who have women as head of household are on Medicaid, and a lot of pregnancies and people who are pregnant have Medicaid and need that service to be able to start their families or be able to have a healthy pregnancy, healthy delivery. And that could be affected, almost probably go away, that access, if the budget goes really poorly and Medicaid gets gutted. So it's scary. A lot of people, like I spoke to a lot of the attendees that are very scared about that. So individually for attendees, I think this is the first time where regular everyday people are like, what's happening with the budget? Before it's like, who cares? That's at the end. But here at the very beginning, people are afraid of the budget. So thanks, Trump, for that.
I thought it was really interesting having somebody from the governor's office come and speak to us. So Madeline Burek came from the governor's office. I thought, all things considered, she did a great job. That's a tough crowd to go in front of, with the governor being who he is. And I thought she handled herself really well. Talked about some of his priorities. The thing is, we can all disagree, but the fact that she even came and addressed the crowd That didn't happen under the Select administration. So I thought that was really important and impressive, and something really good that was happening at Grassroots Lobby Days this year.
Yeah, and I will say we really appreciate the governor's office because, as we were just saying, no other office has. It's the very first time that the Grassroots Lobby Days event had a briefing from the governor's office, and it was great because people also got to ask questions. And I will say this, the office at no point made it difficult. No point did she say or did they say, I'm not going to do this, or no question answer. It was very good. And what I really, really liked is that the questions were very tough, but she never once, people walking around, but she never once, Madeline, who was representing the governor's office, once either said something, made a promise that she wouldn't be able to keep, or spoke out of turn. I mean, she would constantly say, you know what, I'm actually not the right person for that, but I can get you to the right person. And she would, she would follow up and people would come up to her and she would exchange information. And I think that's probably the most important thing for regular people, is to actually hear either a politician or someone who represents a politician not lie or make a false promise in speaking to them. It's great to be able to hear, I'm not an expert on this, or that's not my policy area, someone else is, and we'll figure it out. I know whenever we trained people, especially for this, for coming up here or talking to the press, that was the number one rule. If you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know, or if you don't have the information. And it's fascinating that is probably my highlight of the briefing, was that it was very real for regular people, and I loved that from the governor's office because we've never had one at all, and it was a great moment.
Okay, lots of other stuff going on in the building this week. On Friday, April 11th, is a big committee bill hearing deadline. So the first bills will need to be passed out of the House of Origin, where they become a bill, hopefully to move to the floor and get voted off the floor, unless they have an exemption because of fiscal note or something else. Big things happening this week. Lots of stuff going on in the building this week. Lots of bills moving, hopefully this week. There were some really big hearings over the past couple of days on bills having to do with heat mitigation and air quality, to banking. Today we had a big banking bill, not baking.
Not baking. I thought it was baking. That's why I smiled. I thought she said baking.
There were some big bills on Friday in Commerce and Labor on barbering and the Cosmetology Board. I've learned so much about that. I've learned so much about prior authorization. So having a bill that actually improves prior authorization with insurance companies, so dealing with some of those issues. I'm also following some of the big housing bill that was heard last week by the governor's office, some of that stuff. So there's lots going on in this building, but what is not going on and what we still don't quite know about, shift this because of sun getting a little weird over here. We still don't know about the bills surrounding, like the big bills that are coming from the majority leader, like around childcare, things like that. That's something I'm tracking for my client Moms Rising. And then we also are still not sure of some of the bigger bills, like the governor's bills that still don't have numbers, things like that. So still very much following along and tracking that stuff this week as well, just in case, to see what kind of moves forward. So this Friday will be an interesting one. We're not seeing anything moving for money committees yet either. There obviously is hearings going on in those many committees, but they're not moving some of those big bills yet, and they won't till the end, and probably until we know more about what the federal government is or isn't going to do with the budget cuts federally. I mean, the economy's tanking this week, so who knows what's going to happen. Anything's possible.
Everything's fine.
The stock market's in free fall. Don't worry about it.
Everything's fine.
He just said, what did he say? Trump said this week, you may as well just buckle up. Everybody needs to experience its hard times. It's fine.
Because he's experienced.
Everything's going to be fine. Donald Trump says it's all going to be fine, friends.
Yeah.
Believe him. Anyways, so yeah, lots of important bills moving this week. So if you have a favorite bill that you're tracking, make sure that it gets through the deadline on Friday by midnight, because if it's not passed out of that committee, the bill will die. All right. So what else? What's it been like being back up here?
It's weird. Actually, it's weird because I am not.
You're not really doing this anymore.
No, I remember we were usually every session. I would be the one that would know the bill numbers and like what thing went to the bill number
Yeah.
because I was constantly doing the bill
She was
tracking.
doing the tracking and feeding it to me.
And she was in here doing the peopling. And so, but today was, I think, one of the first times where I was like, what's that bill number? What does that do?
What are you doing? Why are you doing that?
So it felt weird after so many years of being like, what is it? I have no idea what that is.
Yeah. It's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being on the other side of it, just
Being on
being
the
like
other side.
truly like, she doesn't have the lobbyist badge like
Nope.
I do.
Nope.
The lobbyist badge.
Nope.
She doesn't have any of it this time.
Here's
Just a lay person,
just a lay human.
regular human being.
Yeah, it's odd. It's interesting.
What do you think of the new building? They redid it. They put a new cafe in and stuff.
The cafe looks great and the food looks amazing. So that was, I think, a great ad.
Yeah.
And
Back still, paper clipped and chewing gummed together, but the front it looks better.
yeah, there are many parts where you're like, oh, this isn't done. But they had to get in here.
Yeah, the whole front facade's not done yet.
But that's very Nevada. It makes sense. This is who we are. But it was very, the color, I'm still,
No, that's not the color. They still have stone to put.
oh, so even the color isn't
No.
done.
Yeah.
I was like, that's
So,
the color
Yeah,
we went with?
they still don't have the color.
Okay,
That's
great.
what I was saying. The black that's on the outside, blackish thing that's going on,
Yeah.
there's going to be stone added to it. Apparently from like a quarry that did all of the stone over at the governor's office.
Wow. So they're going to match?
Yeah.
Try to match?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Still looks like a mental institution.
It does look like a mental institution.
It went from looking like a prison to a mental institution. So here we are.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's go to the local lowdown. So lots going on locally this week. The first one is, first of all, what is the local lowdown? It is zooming in on the news shaping our communities in the north and in the south. Well, the first one we have to get to is, again, one of those mixes where it's between the north, south, and the federal government because they continue to do stupid things at the federal level. Federal officials revoked 4 UNLV international student visas. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So that's something that's been happening across the country.
Yeah.
I think it's been hitting pretty much like Ivy League schools at first, and then now it's just hitting everyone.
We do have one of the most diverse populations in the
Yeah.
country, so I'm not really surprised they came after UNLV, but very
Yeah.
disappointed and disgusted, obviously.
Yeah, and it's really scary because it's lots of students that, are here legally, but now all of a sudden, most likely for political opinions and political reasons, they're not, their whole revocation, their whole status is being revoked or denied. So it's a scary time because I think some people, I thought it would go as far as possible. I'm a naturalized citizen and I'm
Right.
like, I'm worried of when they're going to hit citizens and not thinking that could never happen. But there's many people who are like, he's never going to do this. He's never going to just deport people like willy-nilly. But now they're not just deporting people, but they're revoking people who are here legally and simply because of what they believe. And that's what it is. They'll try to say, oh, they're supporting a terrorist group or they are gang members or they are this or they are that. That's not true. That's not what it is. Like, for example, today, breaking news today, the Supreme Court stopped the rightful transfer of the man who was deported erroneously to El Salvador. And the White House constantly calls him a gang member and that he's one of the MS-13 and he's not one. And and there is no criminal record of him in like the past 8 years when he's been going through immigration and doing everything on time and by the book. And even then, it's not on your side when you're doing everything right. So it's a scary time. And I think that is I think people have been waiting. Is Las Vegas really going to be hit by this? And I think this is one of the first blows and it's really scary.
Yeah. So the next story is about childcare, something that I work on with Moms Rising, my client that I have been working with for quite some time. There is an article in the Indy asking, is childcare affordable? The answer is resoundingly no. So we actually looked at this last year when we were doing electoral stuff because we were educating legislators who would eventually be up here about how expensive childcare is, not just in the state of Nevada, but across the country. And it's getting worse, especially now with the Trump administration, like everything is getting worse because there's going to be federal cuts that are coming. There's potentially state cuts that have already, well, not potentially, there are state cuts that have already happened to it for the childcare subsidies that we have in state. And so if you're looking at childcare in the state of Nevada, on average, it costs you more to send a kid to childcare, a young child to childcare, than it does for a year of UNLV or a a UNLV or UNR. So this article is really great. We'll show it to you in the chat. And there's some sources in here for different childcare stuff. But overall, childcare in Nevada is abysmal. It's incredibly expensive. There are not enough folks operating childcare facilities. And so some of the work we're doing this session, you'll see hopefully soon a bill from the majority leader working on childcare. That's one of those bills that I was talking about earlier that's not quite out yet. But also, you're going to see a bill. Well, you already see a bill from Assemblymember Anderson, AB 185. Track it. It's a great bill. And that allows for and HOAs to start childcare facilities in their house if they live in an HOA. Because currently in Nevada, it is illegal to operate a childcare facility at a home. So, like grandma, grandpa doing childcare for their, grandkids, whatever.
Crime.
That's a crime. Assemblymember Anderson, who is one of our favorites, is trying to open that up and make it more accessible in the state of Nevada. So in addition to some of the paid leave bills, in addition to some of the, family leave bills, there's also some childcare bills that are going to start moving. There's another one to open up an office specifically in the state of Nevada that will deal with childcare. It's SB 82. We're working with the children's cabinet on that. Janice Sonata over there, she's been working on that. She was talking about that at Grassroots Lobby Days this week too. So her and us are working together on some of this to educate people about what a mess it is at the state level for childcare specifically, and the work that needs to be done, because the way we're doing things in the state of Nevada right now with childcare is not the right way. I know you're shocked about that.
It sounds
like
on brand.
Nevada way.
Sounds like the Nevada way. That's right.
So yeah, that's a fun one that we're dealing with this week. What else is going on locally? Anything in Vegas specifically that's going on that I haven't been paying attention to?
You know what's interesting is that I think it kind of ties to all of this stuff that we've been talking about. I think the mood in Vegas, I was reading on Twitter. So if you feel differently, let us know. If you feel the same, let us know. But one of the things that in the local digital space in Vegas, people have been talking about is how apparently, and I haven't seen this, but apparently how empty casinos are starting to look.
Well, yeah, and they're canceling flights
from
different countries and stuff because people are coming in. Gee, I wonder why.
And my mom, because she used to be a housekeeper, and in some of like the chats of like people who are still there and stuff like housekeepers and stuff like that, they're talking about how there's lots of cancellations. It's becoming very frustrating.
People don't want to come here.
Yeah. And how like if people are in Vegas, like they're not going to the casino, like they're not gaming, and they're not like we're going to start to see a difference. And it'll be really interesting session wise what like any numbers in like the next year or so are for the revenue or like there.
I will say the Economic Forum is coming out. And for those who don't know what the Economic Forum is, that is what they're going to base the biennium budget off of for the next 2 years, because we don't like government in Nevada. So the Economic Forum comes out usually late April, early May. I saw it on the calendar for early May. And they will close all the budgets after they get that economic forum, because they'll know, hey, these are the projections for the next 2 years, because we don't have and so when that economic forum comes out, it's going to be very telling if the economy is still like it is this week, because if Trump is still doing his tariff bullshit, we are in deep, deep trouble in states like Nevada that base their majority of their income, the majority of their economy off of tourism, because people are not going to be traveling if they're losing their entire 401k. That's just the reality. That's how this all works. So,
yep.
Good job, everyone.
Real good job. Real galaxy rings.
I saw an article today that have been canceling flights from Canada to San Francisco, which are common flights. They've just been outright canceling them because people from Canada are just not booking flights to the United States. We've been added to more travel advisory lists in Europe.
Yeah.
Because people, the
travel
governments are
advisory.
like, no. If you come to the United States from Canada right now, the Canadian government wants you to register so they know you're in the United States.
So they can rescue you.
It's like what we have to do when we go overseas, but like to like countries that you go to, where there are real risks involved with going there.
I could not come back.
They're saying our country now poses risks if they come here, which we don't want to be on these lists. This is not a good thing.
The United States is now like the Nevada of the world. We're just on the bad lists now.
100%. And what's so crazy about sitting in this building right now, because this is where all the decisions are made. This is where the state's budget is decided. This is where all of that stuff happens. And so when you really put it into context, the shit that's happening in DC right now, today, is going to have dire impacts on the state of Nevada in about a month or so when we start closing our budgets for the next 2 years.
Someone should really go check on the LCB budget people.
LCB staff are my favorite people in the world.
What does LCB stand for?
The Legislative Council Bureau. They're the nonpartisan, non-elected staff that's here, other than the attaches. Those staff are here 24/7, keeping the state running, basically. Well, here's a living legend. Speaker Jason Frierson.
That just means unk.
Say hi. This is our podcast. Just say
We're recording it.
Hello, podcast.
Living legend. He did all our voting rights bills with us when we were at our...
This is not a Costco.
Yeah, this is not a Costco. I said Costco pizza here today.
Thank you.
Truly one of our favorite people in the whole world.
He is on the top of my list of like politicians in Nevada. He should just run the state.
I love him so much.
Yeah.
And now he's a lobbyist like me. So, he's back on the dark side with me. But love Jason Frierson. For those of you who don't know who that is, that's Speaker Jason Frierson, former Speaker of the Nevada Assembly, also our U.S. Attorney. We talked about him on the show last week because Sigal Chattah replaced him as our U.S. Attorney, which is horrifying because he's amazing and Sigal Chattah is nuts. So
we went from that to
Sigal Chattah. Everyone.
Lynch-loving fun times.
So you never know who you're going to run into at the end of your ledge. That's why we wanted to do it in the building here today, because fun times.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going. WTF is going on in the world, where we unpack the headlines from Nevada and beyond. Y'all, there's a lot to unpack today.
What's been going on?
Nothing. NBD. Everything's
fine.
How's your parents feeling about their 401k right now, everyone?
If I'm afraid of 401k,
we're not going to ever be able to retire.
I'm never going to retire.
We're never
that money's down the drain.
No, all the hard work we've done,
followed all
the money that we've paid into Social Security and such, it's gone now.
It's funny because a few months ago, I went back and I went on my dashboard for my 401k and I raised my percentage. I was like, I'm going to be an adult and like raise my contribution. Totally regretting that now.
Yeah, but you didn't know Trump was going to tank the economy.
I didn't, but now I don't have that money.
Fun time to be alive.
And I don't even want to log on to change that because I don't want to see the numbers.
I'm so happy. Lori Bean, who does all my stuff, she's in Italy right now. I was like, Lori, just stay there. There's nothing to come back to. The economy's fucked.
Start putting your money in cash or under the mattress. Yeah.
Like our ancestors used to do during World War II.
Which now it all makes sense.
Yeah, I get it now.
No, I get it now. You're right, 100%.
I filed my taxes early because I have the business, right?
Yeah.
And like there was so much that I had to do this time. So I used our CPA that we used to use at work. And so I used them and I purposely did it early because I was like, the federal government may not have money to give me a refund on my taxes if I overpaid. And sure shit, I did overpay. And I was like, I better get that money. I did get my money already. I got it last week. But I was worried. I was like, the U.S. economy is in free fall. First of all, why am I even paying taxes at this point? Because Donald Trump does it.
Just do the Trump financial plan.
I was like, this government is in free fall. I got to get my refund. I haven't had a refund in years.
Yeah, get that refund.
Especially as a small business owner, I need my money.
Get that refund. Cash it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And stow
We're going to have another guest visitor here in a minute, so I'm really excited for it. Rebecca Goff. I'm going to talk about her animal bills. Can't wait. It's going to be great. Anyways, friends, let's keep going on the slippery slope that is the United States government. So the stock market's worst start to a presidential term in modern history happened this week. Great job, Trumpers. Great job, MAGA. You really voted for a real winner here. Great job, everyone.
Worst in modern history. Great. Not like last year, right?
No, modern history. So that includes the Great Depression.
Depression was better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some MAGA idiots just walked by. Anyways, So, yeah, great job, everyone. Aren't you glad you voted for Donald Trump? Great job. Really proud of you. So, how are you feeling about the stock market? How are you feeling about the economy? How are you feeling about life?
Like I should do a run on the banks, hide all the cash, have perishable food, supplies of water,
We have another guest star.
and be ready to either hunker down or go somewhere else.
Here, Rebecca. You can sit. Jason Frierson was right here a minute ago.
This is our guest spot right
This
here.
is our guest spot. Special guest spot here.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Goff, and I'm the Nevada State Director for Humane World for Animals, formerly known as the Humane Society of the United States.
Ooh,
Hi.
Rebecca's one of my favorite people in the building. We've always loved her because she's great. You get to work on all the fun animal bills.
I do.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the animal bills. We were just talking about the economy, so let's talk about something better.
Yeah, they're better than people, so tell us.
Okay, so we have a couple big animal bills this session. One is Reba's bill, which is AB 381, which creates basically a different level of punishment for heinous animal crimes. We've seen, especially like in Las Vegas, some really awful things, including what happened to poor Reba, which is who the bill is named after. She was put into a Rubbermaid container, sealed, and left out in the summer in 120-degree weather. And she's an English bulldog, so they already have trouble breathing and regulating their heat. And thankfully, she was found pretty quickly by some good Samaritans, but unfortunately, she was just too sick to be able to recover from the trauma. So this bill is named in her honor. So we were hoping to get that through. That is sponsored by Assemblywoman Melissa Hardy. And then we have our main piece of legislation, which is AB 487, known as Cindy Lou's Law, which would ban the sale of puppies and kittens in retail pet stores in Nevada. And this would be a really huge step to end that puppy mill to pet store pipeline into Nevada. And what we've seen with patchwork ordinances, like city by city, they just keep moving to the next jurisdiction. So it's time to do it statewide.
So talk to us about the pet store bill, because I know that you guys have worked on this in smaller jurisdictions, like Clark County has been one of those jurisdictions. Why do we need this statewide?
So the main reason is jurisdiction hopping, actually. So what we saw in Clark County, that was passed at the end of 2022, went into effect about a year later. And some of the stores just moved, essentially across the street to the city of Las Vegas jurisdiction, which does not have an ordinance. And we saw the same thing happen in other states. For example, when California put their statewide ban in, we saw a number of stores from the Los Angeles area move into Clark County and Las Vegas before they had their own different regulations and ordinances. So, our fear is if we keep doing this ordinance thing, city by city, they'll just keep finding the next city that doesn't have an ordinance. And we don't want that to happen. We want to stop pumping in all these puppies from like Missouri and Iowa when we have plenty of animals here in our shelters. Our shelters are bursting at the seams in the north and the south. And there are plenty of reputable breeders if you are really hell-bent on a specific type of puppy that you want.
Or you just go to a shelter.
I mean, obviously, shelters would be my choice. That's what we definitely recommend. If you want a specific breed, you can find them at the shelter. It just takes a little due diligence. I got a purebred Cocker Spaniel from a local rescue group called Rescue in northern Nevada. And plenty of people have found plenty of purebred dogs that they like, mainly because sometimes people buy them from pet stores, realize that breed isn't a good fit for their lifestyle, or maybe they weren't equipped to handle the health problems that come with specific types of dogs, like French bulldogs that are very popular right now. And then they end up at a shelter. Henderson often has French bulldogs.
How do people get involved with your work, and how do they follow your bills?
So you can check out our website, humaneworld.org, talks about all of the issues that we're working on. Also, we have some information online as well on our Facebook pages and Instagram. What was the other question?
How do people track your bills? What are the bill numbers again?
Oh, sorry. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
So AB 381 is Reba's Law. And AB 487 is Cindy Lou's Law. And I forgot to say what she was named for. Cindy Lou was a little puppy that was at a pet store in Las Vegas during our undercover investigation. Our investigator this summer saw her in a back room, clearly very, very ill, told the store manager she needed to go to the vet. They declined, so she had to call police, animal control on them, and then they came and made sure that they took the dog to the vet. Unfortunately, it was, again, too late for Cindy Lou, and she passed away. So this bill is named in her honor. We have tons of information as well on our website about our investigation. There's been some good press recently, especially in the Nevada Current, had a story about it just last week, Friday maybe. That also features our undercover investigation information as well.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me on. This was so exciting.
Hey, special guest.
Hell yeah.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Good
Thanks
to
for all
see
your
you.
good work.
Thank you.
one of our many friends in the
Yeah.
building. This is why we did it here. It was just easier. People just pop in. You could see what's happening here. You can see my life every day. It's, this is how my real life is. Usually just sit on these couches and harass people.
That's right. The Lord's work.
Lord's work. That's what I do. What has been one of the more interesting things kind of coming back in here? Like, other than you're not tracking bills and you don't know the bill numbers, you saw the new updated outside. Has it been weird seeing like people like Speaker Frierson and like being kind of back in the system a little bit? Because it's even weird when I first come up, because it's been 2 years and you haven't been here. Totally immersed in like the stuff that's going on in South America, but not in the stuff that's happening like real time in Nevada.
Yeah. So I like look at people going, I have no idea what you're doing, what you're working on.
Yeah.
But hello.
And weird in my new role too, because it's so different than what we used to do.
Yeah. Where we were just kind of like, we knew everything that was happening.
Like, especially the big political bills. Like, I'm not tracking a lot of those this time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Like, big governor's hearings will happen. I'm not at them.
Great.
Because I don't need to be. I can go home, watch it from TV or from my computer.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
That's really, really good. And one of the weird things, not seeing Senator Pete Buttigieg walking around.
Oh, yeah.
And he's kind of sad because
it's just weird not having them here. Senator Pat Spearman.
That's
really weird not having her in the building.
They're like, they were like,
it was like the first time when Frierson was gone.
Yeah, they're like the characters, the essence of MV Ledge. Like you could have like the worst day ever, but like seeing Senator Pete G just walk by you and like smile.
You know who's been here a lot though, which is kind of cool. Speaking of Pete Buttigieg, who was a staple in rural Nevada, just an amazing human being, is his son, JJ Buttigieg. I actually got to work with him for one of my other clients, the Retail Association, at the beginning of the session when we had actually talked about the egg bill.
That's right, because he does.
He's the Department of Agriculture, so he's been around the building a lot. So it's kind of cool to see like that passing of generations in the building and like seeing people's kids. So Warren Hardy, who lobbies with Rebecca on things, and he's another staple in the building, has been here a long time. Republican, but very moderate. I often debate him on like Nevada newsmakers and stuff like that. He actually lobbies with Rebecca now, but his son lobbies with him. So it has been kind of cool to start to see the new generations of like those senators or their families kind of start to move up in the Nevada legislature. It's kind of neat.
That's cute.
That's just another one. Laugh all over people everywhere. Yeah. And it's not even a busy day right now.
No, it's slow.
People are starting to wrap up the day. I'm not. But people are.
People are. You're not people.
I'm a weirdo who loves this shit. All right, well, what's your hot take for the week? Anything you want to vent? Hot take, headache?
I'll start with a headache. My headache is that we still have basic things like morning after pill being challenged in places like Honduras, where like you don't have anything. I was doing that all day, which is weird, being here and working on something else. It is absolutely shitty that that is happening. And the reason why I say that is because I was talking to someone today who she lives in Texas, and she now can no longer have children because of going septic during a pregnancy that she really wanted and not being able to have healthcare. And so all of that just kind of brought my day to a full circle moment where I was like, I can't believe it's 2025 and we're still doing that. But we also have the entire economic system falling apart. So that's a headache. Everything just falling apart and women not being able to have health care, no matter where you live. Texas or Honduras, same difference.
Or even here. I mean, there's a lot of access issues even in Nevada.
Yeah. For
a lot of people.
There was someone, it's interesting, there was an attendee, this is my hot take, and it's not mine, it's via an expert who apparently taught national security policy and was an attendee at Grassroots Hobby Days. And she said that in many factors when it comes to education and women, we're on par with Afghanistan. Nevada and Afghanistan, on par. Serving the people.
Really should be proud. What a proud thing.
It's us in Afghanistan.
Let's see, my hot take and headache this week, I mean, other than just like not having a 401k anymore or not, having nice things, is the excuses that are being made online for him, for Donald Trump, about the demise of our economy. And all of these folks who are like, I can't believe he actually did it. I'm like, well, But again, we told you.
He said,
Are you lingering? Do you want to be on the podcast? Mateo, come be on the podcast. Come wait to our guests. Come over here. Come see our guests. You can't get out of this that easy. Come over here. Another special guest, everyone. Mateo Beers.
Hi.
Introduce yourself.
Hi,
Hey.
I'm Mateo Beers, and I'm the personal attaché to Assign Number Win, my first session. And what other questions do you have?
What have you liked most about session?
I think what I've liked most so far is just the learning that I've experienced as an attaché and what I do and don't want to do for my future. So
What do you want to do for your future, Mateo?
I love local government and government in general, so I think that anywhere where I can be in that space, making impact, for folks like me growing up, and so that way they have better footing for their future. I think that that's anywhere doing things that touch that I would love to be a part of.
Do you want to run for office now?
We'll see. Ask me at the end of the session, and I'll let no one.
I was like, we're only halfway through. What has been your favorite part so far?
I think my favorite part is just meeting the amazing people all across Nevada. Growing up in Las Vegas, you're not exposed to Northern Nevada. So now I'm sporting bolo ties. I got boots.
true.
You think she's a northerner?
It is a different experience up here that you don't kind of get down south. And people up here are so down to earth. And I think that that's just a Nevada thing.
Yeah.
And the people, they've just been my favorite part so far.
Would you recommend somebody being an attaché, and what's that kind of overall experience been like?
Absolutely. I think that if you're in college, fresh out of college, and you're hungry for those experiences, I absolutely recommend becoming an attaché. You learn the process in and out because you're in the process itself, and you're able to touch pieces of legislation, whether you helped write it or what. You know, you're a part of that, which is something that I'll carry with me, and I'm sure that you both carry with you. You know, working on bills that affect our lives. So yeah, do it, take the risk, and see where you end up.
Thanks, Mateo.
Yeah.
We should have hired him.
I know. We should have hired him. Fun fact, Mateo applied for a position at our old job, and he won't let me ever live it down because we didn't hire him, but he's really good now. He's excellent. Now, God, Maria, future's so bright for them. If only they had an economy to live in for Mateo. But anyways, if you want to be an attaché and the government still exists by the time you are able to do that, you should totally do it. It's how I actually started. I was an intern, and then I was an attaché, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. I learned so much. So you should totally do it. The more you're immersed in this process, the better.
Yeah. I've never been an attaché, but you should totally do it.
Basically, we're kind of like my minder, my keeper, making sure I went to where I was supposed to go. And she was really just my boss. It was fine.
That's true.
She was like, go here, talk about this, do this. Oh, hi. We were actually mentioning you earlier.
Me?
Yeah, we were bragging about you and your father.
Oh, okay.
On
Yeah.
our podcast. So anyways,
There's people in front of us. We're not talking to the wall.
that's fine. So any other hot takes?
No, that's pretty much it. It's
I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know what day it is. It's been Friday. This past Friday was 60 days up here, though. So we have exactly almost 100.
we're exactly
days.
at the halfway point.
We're at right now sitting here. We're at the halfway point for the Nevada Legislature. So I get to move home in June. Well,
Yay!
unless there's like multiple special sessions, which there probably is going to be.
What is
So
a special session?
That's when the governor or the body that we're here in can call themselves into a special session because they're constitutionally mandated to only go 120 days by the Nevada Constitution. And so this enables them to go in and work on very narrow pieces of legislation, or the budget's messed up magically because of the federal government. They can address those things. We had multiple special sessions during the COVID sessions, as we call them, to address COVID because we budget for 2 years and our economy was decimated. So it's like this has happened before, and it's like Nevada doesn't like government and we can't get it together to have
Us in
annual
Afghanistan.
sessions.
Us in Afghanistan.
You know what would fix this? Annual sessions, everyone. If we just had an annual session and we made our legislators actually get paid what they're worth, because they're only paid for 60 of the 120 days. So Friday, they stopped getting paid, everyone. Now they're just working for free, doing the people's work, because anybody who ever calls in, that's one of my other hot takes. Anybody who ever calls in is like, why do these legislators make so much money? They're billionaires, blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. They literally make no money doing this. They make $9,000 for 60 days of session. The other 60 they work for free.
can't even build up a savings that way.
No, can't build a savings living in this country anyway.
One question for any newbies out there. Does the legislature have to do anything? Like, is there anything that they're supposed to do?
They have to pass a budget.
Okay.
Everything else is ancillary. The only thing they're required to do is pass a budget. So we have to have a budget for the next 2 years.
Great. And that budget has to be, is there any?
Balanced.
Yep.
It must be balanced.
What does that mean for people that have no idea?
That means we can't spend more than we make. So for those of you out there shopping with credit cards, there is no credit cards here in the state legislature. And we have to have a rainy day fund too. And our rainy day fund is at the highest it's ever been, which is probably actually a good thing going into this economic crisis. But what I was saying before Mateo walked over, and I think this is really true in this case, so we did have the highest rainy day fund we've ever had, which is a good thing, but we should probably be spending that money on programs instead of cutting programs, and hopefully that's what they do. Instead of cutting programs, they spend that money. But this is a man-made economic crisis. And it's not even man-made in terms of like anyone else other than Donald Trump and his administration making this financial crisis. I mean, it's truly his fault. Like, there is no reason we should be going back into a recession. That, you know, Biden was working to pull us out of that, successfully done so. This is completely, the tariffs have triggered this economic downfall, and the longer we keep this shit in place, the more damage it's going to do. This is totally Donald Trump's fault.
Yeah, it absolutely is Donald Trump's fault.
And we need to lay it at his feet. So that's my hot take for the week. And it's not even a hot take, it's just a real take.
It's facts.
Yeah.
It's facts.
Just facts.
I mean, when China is posting Ronald Reagan nostalgia,
Literally.
how tariffs are bad.
We miss Ronald Reagan.
When China's like, you know who was right about things? Ronald Reagan.
Not who you should be looking to for life goals right now. Trickle down economics.
When communists are like, you know who was right? Ronald Reagan.
When they're making fun of us. God.
Well, and that's what's going to happen is, you know, we're going to be we're going to go from being a superpower
No, to a laughing.
to having, that's like having nothing. That's, you know, I get to talk to people and work with people outside of this country, and that's the feeling outside of the US is
Great
that
job, everyone.
y'all are a laughing stock. Like, that is ridiculous. And by y'all, sometimes I mean also the people, because they're like, people elected
Lump
them.
us all together.
Because it's like, you know, you elected them. And it's like, that's what you all think about us whenever we elect crazy people.
Yeah.
So we get to think that about you too.
True. What a time to be alive.
And even if you didn't vote that way, the way you should take that, if you're like, well, I shouldn't be lumped into that, think about what you can do to make things better, because it really is all on us. Because
Yeah, now's the time to show up and make your voices heard. All right, well, with that, before we go, it's time for the final bell. Your mic drop moment of the week. And here's what we want you to take away. What's your mic drop moment of the week? What do you want people to take away this week?
I want people to take away that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. That sounds so cliche. But I was really energized, especially by the older women that came to Grassroots Lobby Days and were just asking really tough questions, being really pointed about the things that they wanted to know about and see. And it really, I kind of sat there thinking, they've probably been through a lot more than we have.
Yeah, they've seen some shit.
They've seen some shit, and they can guide us in this time. So don't give up. It's okay to take rest. It's okay to, you know, take a break, but don't necessarily give up on everything, even though sometimes I want to every day. But, you know, if those women who have probably been through a lot can get up and come to a Grassroots Lobby Days and keep going and try to make even the smallest difference, so can you. And so I think also learn from people that have been around the block a couple times, because this is a time where we're probably going to see things that are very close to what older people have lived before. You know, there's a reason why, like we were just talking about, there's a reason why grandparents and other people were like, take your money out of the bank, put it under your mattress. Now we know why. If we didn't know, now we know. And so it's like, really, as, you know, don't give up and learn.
Yep. All right, my hot drink mic drop moment, dear God, is the people who showed up in northern Nevada this weekend for those protests. Out here on Carson Street, right in front of the legislative building, right in front of where we're sitting right now, there were thousands of people out there. They did a really awesome job. I was so proud of northern Nevada. I was so proud of rural Nevada. And I don't think they get enough attention and love, but it's really hard to be a liberal up here. it's really hard to be someone like us up here full time in the north. And so shout out to all the Northern Nevada folks for showing up and making their voices heard, especially at a time like this, because we need you guys more than ever, especially in Trump country.
Yeah, because that's honestly, that really is the front lines of, and all you need to do is get out of Las Vegas and take a drive up to take the drive that I did and come up to Carson City or come up to Reno, and you'll see what we're talking about. On farms, by the way, where you could literally see people that were not blonde and blue-eyed doing all the work. But there's a Trump sign right there. So their bosses are okay with potentially ICE coming over and rounding them up. And if they're not, they should do something about it. And they should, I don't know, call their friends and say, this isn't good.
So that's my mic drop of the week. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining us from the Nevada Legislature. So glad to have you in the building, Maria, with me. It's been nice to have you here. It's been nice to have my husband and Akiko up here with us. Grassroots Lobby Days always brings a lot of people to the building, and it's always nice to see real people in the building and actually have friends around and people I've known for a long time in this building. It's been really fun to have you guys up this week. So
Yay.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review. It helps us keep going and helps us find more people and more people find the show. So we want as many people to do that. Also, share the show every week, please. We need you to share it out with your friends and your neighbors. Remind people to tune in each Wednesday. And then we'll be back next week. Like, subscribe, follow, leave us a review, and we'll be back with more news next week. More political drama next week.
More breakdowns.
Lord only knows what's going to happen between now and then.
We should have a recurring ticker. Oh, I know. That's who that is. Yeah. Now her. Yeah. It made sense. Whatever. Probably doesn't even know Basque. Okay.
We'll explain next week.
We'll explain next week. We'll give you the lowdown on what that means. But,
so yeah.
Where was I? Oh yeah. We were in Tune In next week, and this is all the time we have.
So stay sharp, stay sassy, and we'll see you next week, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Bye.